Washington Commanders training camp got started off just the way you wanted to, with a bang. That and more right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Commanders. I am David Harrison, your guy on the ground covering the Washington Commanders for WUSA 9 and right here with you for 5 days every single week. You can also find me writing about the Commanders for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com, and you can follow me on X at DHarrison82. Thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen or view, and a special thank you goes out to all of the everydayers who make every episode their place to be during the offseason, and now especially that we're into training camp. If you haven't already, everybody out there, please subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you are listening to today's podcast. Getting ever closer to that 15,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. Would love to hit that mark before we even get to preseason game one, if possible. If this is your first time here, welcome to the show. Glad you found us. Hopefully you like what you hear and you come back again real soon. Jakori Croski-Merritt, rookie running back for the Washington Commanders, joining the show today. And we're going to talk about the impact of Terry McLaurin's holdout as the practices get started. But first, let's talk ball. Let's talk football, right? With Jayden Daniels throwing multiple touchdowns here today in Ashburn in the first practice of training camp. All of that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, a very, very proud part of the Locked On Commanders podcast, Locked On Podcast Network, rather. Locked On Commanders isn't his own network. So Locked On Commanders, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com/LockedOnNFL to get 50% off your first year. The beginning of training camp is exciting because it's the first really big step toward real football. Well, the Commanders decided to ramp up that excitement just a little bit. Very first play of 11 on 11, they decided to take a shot at the end zone. Jayden Daniels connecting with veteran wide receiver Deebo Samuel on a deep route. Started off in the slot, a little bit of cross action, ends up getting outside leverage on Tyler Owens, who's lined up in the slot. Deebo ends up getting behind him. Tyler was in position, just couldn't make the play. Deebo comes down with the football and a touchdown to start off the entire festivities. However, before we get to the play-by-play of Jayden Daniels, 11 on 11, let's talk about what got Jayden here. Obviously, an amazing rookie season in 2024, Rookie of the Year campaign, arguably the most impressive rookie quarterback campaign we've ever seen in the National Football League. But entering his second season, when asked what his primary focus was, Jayden Daniels said, quote, I would probably say just leaning up or cleaning up some footwork things. That was probably just the main one, end quote. Now, obviously, he also got a little bit bigger. He also wanted to get a little bit more accurate. Every quarterback, unless you're completing 100% of your passes 100% of the time, there's always room for you to get more accurate. So obviously, those are kinds of things that he wants to do. Talk about getting his eyes downfield, kind of keeping that scanning going as the play is going on, putting himself in different situations where he has to kind of emulate maybe breaking a tackle or breaking a sack or escaping the pocket, doing all the things that as a quarterback, quite honestly, you, your coaches, your fans, right, hope that you don't have to do. Like if everybody had it their way, Jayden Daniels would only run when the Washington Commanders decided Jayden Daniels is going to run. Unfortunately, that's not the way this happens. The defense gets paid to play as well. They're going to beat a block every once in a while. They're going to bring an unmanned blitzer or an unblocked blitzer because the scheme just gets a guy free, and Jayden's going to have to use his athleticism. So making sure that he's spending time in the offseason to get better at that, get as efficient as that, doing that as much as he possibly can. Head Coach Dan Quinn said he saw a big leap in Jayden's ability to process the game quicker. And obviously that playing at full speed is something we always hear coaches talking about. They want their players playing at maximum speed. If you make a mistake going full speed, then I can help you. I can correct you. I can tell you where we went wrong. I can tell you how to get right and all those things. But if you're playing half speed, making mistakes, and then I correct you, and then you start playing full speed, you're probably going to end up just making another mistake, and it just kind of sets back the process, right? So Dan Quinn seeing Jayden's ability to process, getting faster, making decisions quicker, making him, quote unquote, harder to fool on certain looks, as Dan Quinn said. Now, let's get back to the ball, right? 11 on 11. Those are obviously the things that we track every single single practice out here at training camp. Some individual drills beforehand, special teams drills, always happening at practice before we get to the 11 on 11s. But eventually, we do get to the 11 on 11s. Dan Quinn told us before practice, the end of every practice is going to be a game-ending situation. It's going to be those winning time moments that we saw the Washington Commanders execute so many times successfully in the 2024 regular season and even in the postseason. And we're going to see them again here at practice. One of the things that Dan Quinn and his staff sat back, looked at what they did in 2024 and said, you know what, man, that was really successful, really set us up for success when those moments came along, because they're going to come along no matter what. So we're going to continue to do those. Well, today it was pretty much all red zone work, right? Jayden Daniels running the first team, 3 sets with the first team in 11-on-11s. And again, first team is kind of a fluid term because you're going to see guys get reps. So we saw Demetric Felton get reps with the first team offense as a running back. Doesn't mean he is a first team running back per se, although never know, could surprise people. But Jayden Daniels, very good first day of 11-on-11s, 5 for 8 officially, which is not like the greatest percentage in the world, but also a small sample size of passes. But he did throw 2 touchdowns, connected on that deep route with Deebo Samuel for a touchdown on the very first play of the 11-on-11 drills. Also completed a post route to Zach Ertz. Would have got the ball down about inside the 5. Hit Jalen Lane, the rookie out of Virginia Tech, on a quick slant right side to left side. Completed that down inside the 10. And then had also a touchdown throw to Austin Eckler, running back Austin Eckler, right down by the end zone, right by the goal line, found a spot in the zone, sat down, caught the ball, and literally just kind of rolled backwards into the end zone. A couple of other throws, a couple other moments. There was a blitz from Mikey Sainristil, and I think this is something that we're going to talk about a lot in the upcoming season. Mikey Sainristil blitzing out of the slot was something that he did in Michigan very, very well. Saw it again here today in 11-on-11s, got really immediate pressure on Jayden Daniels and forced Jayden to throw a ball that, quite frankly, sailed over Luke McCaffrey. And you're talking about a 6-foot-plus quarterback, a 6-foot-plus wide receiver, and 5'8" Mikey Sainristil getting such pressure on Jayden Daniels, playing bigger than he measures, forcing that overthrow. So, again, not a great rep for Jayden in the offense, but that's a really good rep for the defense. And when it's team on team, as commanders on commanders, you want a little bit of blend, right? You want a little bit of good for the defense, a little bit of good for the offense. So some good there. There was a pass to Jakori Brooks, an undrafted free agent, that was dropped, but Jayden got it into a really tight window, just unable to bring in the pass. Doesn't mean that Jakori had a bad day, though. Jakori Brooks will come up again here in just a little bit. And then a nice fade into the corner intended for a receiver. I'm going to say this. If it was Terry, I feel like the pass probably would have been caught, but because Terry wasn't here, the pass ends up hitting the turf. So, again, Jayden Daniels, 5 for 8, 2 touchdowns in his effort today. New offensive lineman, Laremy Tunsil was out there with the first-team offense, so I know a lot of people had some conversations about how much he was doing with the team during OTAs, mandatory minicamp, all that stuff. He was out there with the first-team offense. Andrew Wiley was getting the first-team right tackle reps today. Doesn't mean you're not going to see Josh Connolly Jr. out there. Certainly expect to see the rookie out there playing right tackle. Jayden Daniels actually talked about both of those tackles, Josh Connolly Jr. and Laremy Tunsil. Said, quote, you have a rookie, you have obviously a vet that's been proven in this league, and they're 2 very hard workers. And you go back to the end of OTAs, Laremy Tunsil said, JC, Josh Connolly, is going to be something very, very special. Dan Quinn also talked about, both guys talked about their athleticism and what it can potentially do to help boost the run game, but also the screen game. Remember, the screen is a very big part of this offense, something that we expect Deebo Samuel to be heavily involved in as well. And outside of Jayden, obviously the starter, the number 1 guy, but Marcus Mariota came in, also led a touchdown drive. He hooked up with rookie Jalen Lane for a touchdown, 11-on-11s, also connected with Jakori Croskey-Merritt on a touchdown in 7-on-7s after extending the play. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Sam Hartman also got 11-on-11 reps. Veteran Josh Johnson was with the 4th team, if you want to call it. Sam Hartman getting reps ahead of Josh Johnson. It's only one day. It's just the first day. Don't read too much into it, but he threw a touchdown as well. The good news is the offense looked very good on day 1, even without Terry McLaurin. But of course, the absence of Terry McLaurin was present. So we're going to dive into some of the discussion surrounding number 17 being AWOL as training camp got started here Wednesday. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and Locked On Commanders are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, I've been using Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the mobile app is perfect for keeping up with news right from training camp. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. and it all begins August 4th. So stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Everybody, that is everybody, has an opinion about the Terry McLaurin holdout. But if we're being real, the most important ones, at least as it pertains to training camp practice, which is what we're focusing on, the most important opinions there belong to the players and the coaches that are on the field. Well, we heard from one of those coaches, Dan Quinn. We heard from a couple of those players, Jayden Daniels primarily, but also Bobby Wagner. And here's a little bit of what they had to say. So Terry McLaurin, in case you've missed it, holding out, wants a new extension, wants a new deal, wants more money, wants more years, all kinds of stuff, wants to be respected and valued by the organization. Adam Peters obviously wants to take care of the organization financially, roster-wise, ensure optionality, do all those things, but has made it very, very clear the intention is to keep Terry McLaurin in Washington beyond 2025. When that deal gets done, I can't tell you how close they are. There's little murmurs on the wind that it's really close, super close, going to happen any moment. Nobody really knows for sure. When it happens, everybody will be excited. But for now, deal's not done. Terry McLaurin's not in Ashburn. He's not in training camp, and that's what we're dealing with. Dan Quinn said it's quote-unquote part of the business of the NFL. Also said that he knows that Adam Peters and Adam's team are hard at work getting the deal done. Here is what Dan Quinn had to say about Terry McLaurin's deal on Wednesday.
I certainly don't need to reach out, to anybody else, and it's part of, the business of the NFL. And, I don't judge it or get too worked up about it. I know Adam and his team they're working as hard as they can, with Terry. So the best thing I can do, honestly, in this space is put all the attention and the focus to go doing what we love them. So I know they're working really hard to go do that, but it's part of the business of our league. And this happens on teams all over. And so the longer you've been in it, the more you recognize that's just part of how things go.
All right, so that was head coach Dan Quinn. Jayden Daniels also basically echoed the sentiment, calling it just business in the NFL, quote unquote. He emphasized that he has a strong relationship with Terry McLaurin, saying, quote, me and Terry got a very good relationship. Whenever that time comes and he's back out on the field, Jayden basically said he thinks that things are going to be seamless. Now, is there an impact on the team and Jayden Daniels? Has been a big part of the question. Dan Quinn acknowledged that you want every player on the field, especially as a coach, but he is comfortable with what Terry McLaurin has kind of stored already, right? And we talked about this and, not directly Dan Quinn agreeing with me, but essentially what I've been saying, what we've been talking about here on the program is what Dan Quinn said. Terry McLaurin's been doing this for a really long time. He's got a full year under this scheme. It might be a little bit different if Cliff Kingsbury had been lured away by a head coaching job and wasn't here right now, and there's a whole new offense, a whole new offensive coordinator, might be a little bit different. But Terry knows everything that's being installed right now. There might be a wrinkle or two here or there, but most of those wrinkles aren't really going to involve him directly. They're going to be things that happen outside of what he's doing in his position in this offense. So there's kind of a clock here. There's a timetable on when you start to get concerned about Terry McLaurin not being a part of training camp. And right now, we haven't hit that point. For me, that point is honestly first joint practice of the preseason. So August 6th, if he's not traveling to New England and practicing against the New England Patriots, I think then I start to get just a little bit worried. I know some people said, if he misses 2 preseason games, then they'll be worried. Some people said they're not even going to be worried unless Terry demands a trade, because then these talks are really not going in the right direction. So if Terry takes all of training camp and signs the week before they play the Giants, they're going to be okay with that. So again, the panic meter is going to be just a little bit different for everybody. Right now, the team doesn't seem to be a whole lot panicked, just kind of seems to be patient, waiting for Terry to get back and welcoming him with open arms when that time comes. So Dan Quinn focusing on that's the advantage of it being an entire year. Again, Jayden Daniels talking about his relationship since they've got that whole year under their belt, just a relationship that they've built on and off the field. Again, Jayden Daniels saying, quote unquote, it's going to be seamless when Terry returns. Bobby Wagner also talked at his post-practice press conference and basically said that every player in the National Football League needs to get really in tune with the business side of the game, because he's noticed that some players retire and the endorsements go away and the NFL contracts go away, and they don't know how to build those relationships. They don't know where those relationships came from, and they're kind of left out there a little bit hanging after their playing days are over. Doesn't want that to happen to other people. That's one reason he took it upon himself to become his own agent, learn that side of the game, study that side of the game. And now, if you haven't heard, Bobby Wagner has enough money in the bank to be a partial owner, minority owner of the Seattle Storm of the WNBA. So big news for Bobby Wagner as well out here on Wednesday from a non-football standpoint. But basically said that on top of learning the business, what you also have to learn is not everybody's business is your business. So the players in the locker room, you love to have Terry on the field, and obviously they're going to get asked questions about it. But at the end of the day, focus on what your business is. Your business, if you're Bobby Wagner, is learning the defense, continue to develop the defense, help the other guys learn the defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Worry about your own contract. Don't worry about what Terry McLaurin has going on with his. So glass half full type of opportunity here. Other receivers are going to have chances to kind of step up. And the first one that we're seeing get the opportunity to step up is Chris Moore. And essentially when you see the first team receivers or first team offense line up, you have Chris Moore lining up where Terry McLaurin would be lining up. Now, again, for me, just kind of reading between the lines, that's a good sign. Chris Moore, veteran receiver, he's been around a little bit, but he was a practice squad guy. He's not a guy that you necessarily view as threatening to take that number one job from Terry McLaurin while he's gone. Now, if it was, say, Noah Brown in that position or even a Luke McCaffrey in that position, now it kind of starts to look like, okay, maybe they're grooming someone to be that guy in these alignments, mostly split wide left, right? When, in case Terry doesn't come here. But because you're putting a guy in there that is considered a bottom of the roster guy or a practice squad guy, it basically looks like you're holding that place. It's like, okay, this is where Terry would be. Hey, you go play that position right now. Everybody else play your normal position so that when Terry gets back, you already know what you're doing. That's kind of the reading between the lines of it, but it's great experience for Chris Moore, great experience for, Chris is getting those reps. Somebody else is getting the reps that he would have gotten somewhere else, obviously. And Chris certainly has done some things during no hitting. So passing, obviously, he's going to take a front seat during this portion of training camp, but that doesn't mean we don't have any running game or running backs to watch. On Commanders, I'll let you hear that coming up next on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Have you ever wished that managing your money felt a little bit easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal chief financial officer giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Like having your own Adam Peters in the front office telling you, here's how much you should spend on this investment, here's how much you shouldn't spend, here's the limit, and here's why. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app, though. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and your spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. For me, I spent a lot of money during the season traveling, going to games, practices, eating on the road, hotels, flights, all of it, you name it. So it's really important for me to be able to track all of those expenses at once, not to mention subscriptions to NFL Plus and all this other stuff. So Monarch really came in clutch for me. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. One of the standout performers from the first day of training camp practice, at least in my eyes, was 7th round running back Jakori Croskey-Merritt. There was one play specifically, he made multiples, one play specifically that really just kind of showcased the talent and the juice this dude has in his legs, his mid-level, his just entire running back body. Took a handoff from the shotgun, hit the gap, put his foot in the ground, planted, made a move, made the linebacker miss, took off through the gap, and man, just what a play. It was so smooth. It was fluid. No loss of momentum, no loss of speed while he's doing it. Just showed a lot of what Jakori Croskey-Merritt can do. So we caught up with him after practice. He took some time to talk to us about his first NFL camp experience and what makes his game unique, his journey to the league, and here's everything we talked about with Jakori Croskey-Merritt. Every phase is a new experience, right? Yeah. First NFL training camp practice in the books, man. How you feel?
Feel good. Coming out here working and got a lot to work on. So I mean, we're taking it day by day.
So a lot of time the coaches talk about kind of like rookie camp, you get a little bit, then you come back for OTAs, get a little bit again, mandatory mini camp a little bit again. How do you feel you're retaining everything that's been thrown at you so far?
Pretty well. I mean, just staying locked in, just staying focused on the small details, taking extra time to just go over things that they didn't talk to us. So I mean, I'm retaining it pretty well.
And I know the pads haven't come on yet, but you guys still get some growth when the pads are off. Where do you think you feel like you're getting better already?
I feel like I'm getting better on just knowing our scheme, knowing what we want to do, knowing how we want to run things, like, the different run schemes that we got. And I feel like I'm just learning step by step.
You had a really good run there in the team drills. Mm-hmm. Saw you put that foot down, hit that move. I mean, look clean, look crisp, look confident, no loss in the acceleration when you're coming out of your break. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you work on making sure you can still do that?
I mean, that's something special about me, so I got to make sure I'm on top of that and everything that I do while I'm training, while or I'm out on the field. I mean, that's what made me unique. Just being decisive, putting my feet in the ground, and just being explosive. So that's just a part of my game.
Made a nice adjustment on a pass. I know Marcus left it a little bit behind you, but you're able to bring that in. How'd you feel making that?
It felt pretty good, just showing the coaches I can be versatile in everything that I do, and I just want to bring as much talent as I can to this offense.
So Dan Quinn talked to us about, you're going to do 2 days just helmets, 2 days shells, work towards those pads. As you feel that gear get a little bit heavier, as you feel it start to come on a little bit, like do you get excited for every step?
I definitely get excited. I mean, I guess that's what people want to see. They want to see me in shoulder pads. I mean, I don't really think it'll make a difference. I mean, if anything, I feel like it'll be more better because the guys really can see it. But I mean, I'm ready for like every step that come my way, every challenge.
Have you been able to kind of connect with friends and family? Now you're in the NFL. Like, what's the reaction of your loved ones that you're here at this level where you've been aiming to go?
They're definitely excited. I mean, they're ready for things to get to rolling and ready to see me play, and like they just want to come down and experience like these moments with me. I mean, I've never been to an NFL game with them in my life, and like I played my first one. I mean, in less than a month, and like they're definitely excited for it. So I'm just want to work to get to that point. And it'll be worth it.
All right. Once again, that was rookie running back Jakori Croskey-Merritt, a player to keep a close eye on as training camp progresses. You can hear the confidence in his voice when he talks about his game. He talks about the decisiveness, explosiveness, something special about me, quote unquote. Obviously, you have a player who really feels like he has the ability to make a difference here in the league. Focus on learning, but also really excited for pads to come on, which I know you are, and you certainly know that I am. So fantastic story, fantastic player. We're going to keep an eye on him, obviously, as training camp progresses. That's going to do it for today's episode. Coming up next on Locked On Commanders, we're right back here in Ashburn for practice number 2, 2025 Washington Commanders training camp. So we'll talk more about that. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, all you got to do is text them to me. You can do that by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. And by becoming an insider, not only are you going to text me, but I'm going to text you. You're going to get notes during practice. You're going to get notes during press conferences, all kinds of good stuff. So make sure you're involved in all of that. The Commanders are holding their training camp. We think they've got a pretty good team. What does the rest of the league think? Well, the Locked On NFL Top 100 has dropped. You can find out where Jayden Daniels is, Terry McLaurin, and so much more. Hear the full Top 100 breakdown on Locked On Sports Today, available now on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. To the everydayers, I see you every day. I appreciate you every day, and you know I'm thanking you today. Until next time, everybody, if you're out and about, please be safe, be kind to one another. We'll talk again real soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.